दिशा में तेरी कीर्ति, दिव्य रूप तेरी ज्योति, हर दिशा में तेरी कीर्ति, एक ओम का ही ध्यान मुक्ति पथ दिखाए, साचा रूप साचा रंग मन में दिखाए, प्रकाशित हृदय में ईश्वर। ज्ञानियों के शुद्ध मनों में, साधकों के चिंतनों में, ज्ञानियों के शुद्ध मनों में, साधकों के चिंतनों में, मेरी आस मेरे श्वास तुझ में ही समाए।
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। What we studied last time was that there is that firstly, let's try to hunt down happiness. When we try to hunt down happiness, okay, we all say, okay, I want to be happy. Where do I get? We fall a prey to some best-selling fiction. And what is that best-selling fiction?
If I get X, I'll be happy.
I'll be happy.
If I get or anything, something has to happen. I may get it, I may lose it also. You want to understand now, Deep Raj, getting it means you get married. That's one way of getting happiness. There is another way of getting happiness also. What's the other way?
Avoiding it.
You want, so it need not be getting. It can be losing also. For some people, it is getting. For some people, it is losing. But it is always when something has to happen, then I will be happy. This is the best-selling fiction of all time. I mean, we've all bought into it. We've bought into it in such a way that we spend our whole life either rushing towards something or rushing away from something. Neither by going towards anything nor by going away from anything. No, these are all toxic people. I don't want to be with them. Neither by going to something nor by going away from something. So that's the fiction that we have swallowed. That I will be happy if this happens. What is that this which is to happen? It could be going towards, it could be going away. It could be getting, it could be losing. Give me examples of losing.
Weight.
Aditi, how did you know that one? I didn't expect you to know that one. Correct. You could want to lose weight. You could want to get, you could want to lose. In both ways, it is a possibility. right? Now, what's the problem with that? That's the twist in the tail. What was the twist in the tail? That when we try this, when this happens, I will be happy. When we believe this, there's a twist in the tail. What is the twist in the tail? What happened? You all are looking quiet like you never heard this book in your whole life before. What is it?
Conditions, ma'am.
Constant
Well,
change.
I can't hear you all. Wait, maybe I should increase my volume. Let's see now. Okay, what is the twist in the tail?
It's temporary happiness.
That's not the twist in the tail. What's the twist in the tail?
The
Everything is
conditions.
I
changing
will
constantly.
succeed or we fail.
Very good. Who said that?
It's Taruna.
Taruna. Okay. You all spoke together, so I still haven't gained the Siddhi power of what is that thing? You know, in olden times, there's a report of people who were able to talk to 100 people at one time. How they heard them and how they responded, I don't know, but I guess I must try to get that talent. Okay, so correct, Taruna. What is the twist in the tail? What can happen? I want something. Okay, get it or lose it, whatever. I want something to happen. Now, what is the twist in the tail? Only two things are possible. Either you will fail at the attempt or you will succeed at the attempt. If you fail at the attempt, you're going to be unhappy. What happens if you succeed at the attempt? Look at your own successes in the past. What has happened? What is the consequence of those? There are only two consequences of that. Either that thing will stay with you or that thing will go away. If it goes away, then it will pain you. What happens if it stays with you? Then you'll get bored stiff with it. So where is this supposed to, how is this supposed to lead to happen? Right? So now what should we do? We have to understand. What do we have to understand? That there's a happiness machinery. And what does this machinery have? It has
10 parts.
Moving sections.
10 moving sections. If it's a fixed machinery, at least we have some hope. But there are 10 parts and these 10 parts are moving. Any one of them can move at any time. And then that puts paid to our happiness. That is in Kahani Khatam. Story is over. Because 10 moving parts. That's not a few parts. It's 10. So what was the first moving part?
Attainment of
Attain the object.
The attainment of the object. So if you don't attain it, to bed ke ro. How much, especially in college and all. Some boy likes some girl. And that girl rejects him. That poor boy's life is ruined. Na khana, na pina. He can't eat, he can't drink, he can't sleep. Ruined. So first, attainment of the object. Second,
Object should be as
It should be as you have expected it.
as you expected it. Now, okay, that girl said yes. But after she said yes, he's found out now that she's got terrible body odor. He never went close to her before that. And such terrible body odor, he can't be near her only. So this object turned out not as expected. Now he has to figure out a way of getting out of this deal. Right? So the object is as expected. Haven't you noticed that? You wanted something. You got it. But it wasn't what you thought it was. It was something quite different. Most common example is
your partner.
yes, getting married. You wanted to get married, and then you got married. Now this didn't turn out to be what you thought it was. Right? So every step of the way we are having these moving parts. You don't know which one is going to be. Then third one, not the very dangerous moving part is
The desire.
the desire stays the same. Correct. Have you not noticed sometimes you wanted it, you got it, but now you don't want it? The desire has to stay the same. The desire, that means externally things are moving, internally also things are moving. It's not like we are all steady and permanent. Internally, my mind changes. I no longer want that thing. Why do I not want it? Well, I don't want it. What argument is there? So the desire has to stay the same, and and this is, I mean, this is real life, okay? It's not just a textbook saying something. It's really what happens to us. And the example in the book is a child gets an ice cream. She says, which ice cream do you want? I want that ice cream. Okay, chalo, have that ice cream. Then another child comes and takes some other ice cream. Now this child wants that ice cream. Chalo, isn't that possible? You buy a watch. You really want it. You bought the watch. Then you see that your friend has brought an even prettier watch. Then now you want that watch. The desire has to stay the same. The desire changes, finished. End of it. Then what else has to stay the same?
Circumstances.
Circumstances. You know how much of a role circumstances play in our life? Many times we want something because of that circumstance. Suppose you were in a desert and and for miles on end you can't see anybody and you have nothing. What will be your highest desire? Suppose at that time I come and offer you a diamond ring. What will you say?
I want water.
Water, never mind diamonds. Famously, holiday romances. Yes, shipboard romances. You get locked with somebody on a ship for 1 month, and suddenly that person starts looking very attractive. Then first time you come down on land again, no attraction anymore. So in a particular circumstance, that object starts looking very attractive. I'll tell you a really bad thing the boys in the ashram used to say. So, you know, when we were all living in the ashram, right? And it was a cloistered society. And there's a very bad thing the boys used to say, you know. They used to say, they treated me like one of them. So I heard this. They said that you stayed in the ashram too long when the girls here start looking pretty. So that's the time you have to leave. Because now your mind can't take this anymore. So, you know, the thing is, that's so rude of them, right? That the assumption being that none of the girls here were pretty. That's really mean of them. But the thing is, that is how it appears then. When, you know, in the ashram, when we were there, when I joined, 35 years ago, almost 40 years ago, the thing, we would get 3 meals. Just 3 meals on the day. You get breakfast, you get lunch, you get dinner, and you can die, you won't get anything in between. So some of the naughty children used to smuggle in, I still remember, I shouldn't mention this, but this little a packet of Good Day cashew. Okay? And I swear to you, at that time, we used to get like, okay, all of us, one small packet of Good Day cashew. We used to get half a biscuit. That biscuit is the best biscuit I've ever tasted in my whole life. It used to taste like we would do anything to get that little half biscuit. Like, it was not easy because we were not allowed to leave. So we smuggled it in. I hope nobody's listening to this. We'll smuggle it in. One little box, one little packet, it's small packet. Okay, and all of us are sharing it. So we're getting half a biscuit. Can you imagine how that tasted? Now, many, many years later, when I've lived in the city, many years later, it occurred to me one day, oh, biscuits were so good, you know, which we used to get when we used to get that in the academy. I must have it. And I tasted it, there was no taste. I'm like, what did we enjoy so much? Circumstances. Circumstances make something look very good. So the circumstances have to stay the same. Sometimes circumstances go bad, okay? Like the example in the book. You're enjoying your favorite meal and you get some really bad news. Finished gone. All the enjoyment snatched from you like that. Right? So what are these moving points? The object has to be attained. Having attained, it has to be as you expect. Then the desire also has to stay exactly the same. The desire also cannot move. Circumstances cannot change. Do you realize the probability of this happening? These are all high probability events. They're not low probability events. Then comes the fifth one, collateral damage. If all of this has stayed the same, you got the object was as expected, your desire is just the same, the circumstances are just the same. Okay, you wanted to have chocolates, you got chocolates. The chocolates were as delicious as you wanted. Your desire for those chocolates have stayed exactly the same. Circumstances have also changed, stayed the same. Means there every day after your meal, you love to have the chocolates. All circumstances are also same. You've not run out of money or something like that. Then we come to the fifth one, collateral damage. One may court sickness, poverty, jail, or death by indiscriminate contact with an object of desire. One may fall sick, become poor, reach jail or death by indiscriminate contact with an object of desire. For example, sweets for diabetes or salt for hypertension. Similarly damaging could be a romantic relationship, credit cards, or gambling. The object of desire could be illegal, immoral, or fattening. See, because the collateral damage that it has caused, you will yourself have to stop using it. You love the chocolate, but now you got diabetes. It could be a romantic relationship, like, honey trapping. When the spies, they are honey trapped, and then they'll reach jail, and then they'll be executed. Right? So there's collateral damage. All the others were okay. But now you will have to yourself pause that enjoyment because of the collateral damage that's going to happen. The fear of loss. Excuse me. Some typical examples are a jealous spouse worrying obsessively about the partner straying, parents anxious about their children, or investors apprehensive about losses. In all cases, no change has occurred. All is as it was. Yet, just the thought is nerve-wracking and hampers enjoyment. Now, none of these things have happened. And still you're not happy. Why? You're a jealous spouse. Has your husband strayed or your wife strayed? No. See, Othello, did Desdemona do anything? No, she didn't do anything. But was he happy with his relationship? No. Do you realize that? Even if none of these things happen, still the same problem. Have you seen parents anxious about their children? Has anything happened to the child? Nothing. But what is the experience of the parent? As if something has happened. Investors apprehensive about losses. This happened just the other day. I was going somewhere in the lift, and there were two girls in front, young girls talking. And one of the girls was like, oh, what will happen? That is the day, 4th June. You know what happened on 4th June?
Election result.
Election result. And as a result of election result, what happened?
Market crashed.
Market crashed. Yes, market crashed. And this girl, she's like, oh, I had put 1 lakh. I don't know what happened to my 1 lakh. So I butted it and I said, because she's so young, I don't think she's seen market cycles. They go up, they go down, they do that all the time. Why do people get worked up about a fall and a rise? I can't understand. That's what the market does. It's its job. It goes up, it goes down. So, next day it will rise. Of course, it will rise. But has anything actually happened to her? Even when the market fell, has anything happened to her? Nothing has happened because if you have to sell, then something has happened. You're not even going to sell. But the trouble she's facing is as much as had she actually lost. You realize, right? It is only notional growth and notional loss until you actually sell it. You've not sold it, so you have no loss or gain for that matter. But the experience you have is as if there has been a loss or gain. So even if all the above didn't happen, you're still suffering. Depressing, no, this book is. Happiness Guarantee, it says, and it just depresses us. What kind of weird book this is. Then comes.
Hariom, ma'am. I think this is one of the most prominent ones, right? The fear. Especially if things are going good, you fear that anything can go wrong. Health, well, a lot of people because of it's a very dangerous.
All of them are dangerous, Ganesh. None of them are going to keep you happy. This is like nothing has happened. Still you're worried. So it's an interesting phenomenon. If you can spot this is what is happening to each and every one of us. See, suppose I ask you what are the 10 moving pieces, and you can answer all the 10. But you don't see that this is actually the condition I live in. Then Mahati Vinashti. Mahati Vinashti means in Keno Upanishad, he says, Bhuteshu Bhuteshu Vichityajira Pretyasmat Loka Amrita. Through every experience, you think of the truth and you will reach Amritam. And if you don't do this, Mahati Vinashti. Nashti, Nashta Hona, it is destroyed. Vinashti Visheshena Nashtaha, specially destroyed. Mahati Vinashti. I don't know how to translate that. Supreme-most or supreme losses. Great loss if we.
I didn't understand this statement.
Upanishad calls it a great loss. So now I'm rounding back and saying it's a great loss if nobody was listening, no?
If we don't understand what you're going, if we don't understand these moving parts and we don't see it in ourselves, what's
Wonderful, Samta. Don't get lost, okay? The speaker can go all over the place, but you all have to hold the line of thought. What is the line of thought? That there are these moving parts. And if you just, that there are moving parts, but don't see its relationship to life itself, then it's a great loss. A huge loss. Because so close and so far. With me? Give a thumbs up, say yes, do something, yes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
All right. So, then the actual loss. It is traumatic to get something and then suddenly lose it, often for no fault of one's own. Imagine the tragedy of a young girl marrying her true love and losing him to a stray accident on the honeymoon. It can wring the hardest heart. Just imagine you married this perfect person. I know somebody, perfectly compatible couple. Hardly were they married, and he just died like that in a random accident. Like, can you imagine what must be the feeling of that person to lose something? Today in the paper, there was some headline, some fellow was saying, his wife and he are separated, and the wife took the child to Australia or some such place, and he can't meet the child. So he was doing it. The newspaper was saying how bad he's feeling. Imagine you had the son you always wanted, and your wife has taken him away somewhere now. You can't meet the child. The loss, the pain. Many spouses do this very mean thing to one another after divorce, which is they prevent access to the child. So many cases. So cruel, right? So here's a person who's had the child, wanted a child, had a child, because of the separation, has been prevented from meeting the child. Pain of loss. So where have we come? There is collateral damage. There is fear of loss. There is the actual loss. Now, suppose there is no loss. Then what happens? The continued possession. Uninterrupted possession can also present a problem because enjoyments that endure lose their flavor. Uninterrupted possession can also present a problem because enjoyments that endure lose their flavor. It no longer feels pleasurable. It becomes boring. Children with a multitude of toys are always bored. We too no longer enjoy our possessions. How exciting is our car 5 years after it was bought, or our house, or our partner? Remember how it was in the beginning, how it is now. So even suppose you don't lose it, then will you be happy? No, even then you're not happy. Even continued possession is a problem. Then addictions. An unregulated exposure to one's object of enjoyment may give rise to addictions. These are hard to overcome and become a source of further affliction. Addictions are not restricted to substance abuse. This is a very common notion. I mean, the word addiction is usually used for substance abuse. But what we don't realize is it's not restricted to that. Addictions may be to objects or beings, example, alcohol or one's family. People may get over-involved and possessive about their children. Helicopter parenting is the current name for it. The love of money has wrecked many lives. Being fixated on weight loss or cleanliness can be debilitating. People have made their life hell by addiction to intangibles like reputation or likes on social media or compulsive hatred or painful memories. In normal parlance, we don't refer to these as addictions, but it is essentially the same. You know that people actually go into depression because some posts they had and they didn't get enough likes. Can you believe? I mean, what is can you believe? I'm sure you can believe it's a very real thing that's happening. Some people make themselves completely miserable based on what other people are going to say for reputation. They don't do what is natural to them because they are wondering what other people are going to say about it. It's an amazing thing. It's a truly amazing thing. How we can make ourselves miserable. Message. How would we define addiction? Is it over? It is overused. It is overused. Means an object is overused. That's what we mean. Addiction is when
No, I mean the word is overused. So
the word is over. Okay.
Yeah.
Addiction means the mind leads the contact with the object so much that the intellect has lost all capacity to control it. It will probably, I mean, that's what we mean by the word addiction. It probably needs special interventions to be able to correct this. That's not part of the definition, but that's the result. You need a special intervention. Just like if you have alcohol addiction, you might have to go to a, what is that thing called where you have to go? Or a drug
rehab.
Rehab, yeah, you have to go to rehab. So similarly, at the mental, when the objects are intangible, you need a special technique or a special method of rehabilitation of the mind. We all function on the mind, but then if we remember and all, we'll hold the mind. But in some cases, we can't do that.
Because we normally sometimes use the word very indiscriminately. I'm addicted to chocolates, I'm addicted to this, but it's not really true then.
Yes. I mean, addicted to chocolate means I will eat it in spite of anything. That means my intellect has completely lost control. I mean, I simply won't be able to control it.
Okay.
Okay, any questions so far? You all have all been quite quiet. All good so far?
Are you, ma'am? I have one question. Two questions. Now, self-realized people, these 10 rules are not applicable for self-realized people, obviously.
No, they're not.
Okay. And the second question is,
Why
now
don't you answer the question, why are these rules not applicable for a self-realized person?
restarts.
Yes, correct. Good, but you should, in any class that you're doing, you have to follow the line of thought of that class. So in this class, you have to answer that question is that they haven't fallen for that original fiction. All these rules become applicable only if you fall for that idea that if I get something, I'm going to be happy. They haven't fallen for this. They are happy as it is.
Understood, ma'am.
Okay. Now, second question.
Second question is there's a lot of research on chemicals that are induced in the body, dopamine, dose, that oxytocin. So that is mind or that is body? You have mind, body, intellect, right? So that's, for instance, you go to the gym, you feel happy. So where is that happiness coming from? Is it because of the chemicals induced or is it because mind is happy? I'm just confused.
Okay. All right. So a human being experiences things, contacts the world with his body and with his mind. I mean, in the sense, the body takes in, what do you call it? The stimuli, and the mind reacts. And that's how you experience whatever in the world you're experiencing. Now, what happens when you put a chemical in the body is that this body is our only, what should I say, our only way of contacting the world, right? The mind directly or the intellect directly cannot contact the world. It has to be contacted by this body. So when you put a chemical in the body, the chemical is part of the world, correct? This body is part of the world. The chemical can affect the body, just like everything else, like fire can affect the body and water can affect the body and whatever, blah, blah, right? So when you put the chemical in the brain, externally you put the chemical, then the chemical will affect the brain. With me so far?
Yes, ma'am.
However, this chemical is not capable of affecting the mind because
Mind wins over body. I'm not using mind is
why?
gross cannot affect the subtle.
Very good. Because gross cannot affect the subtle. So what does this sentence mean in this context? That whatever you do you can affect the chemistry of the brain by adding chemicals, right? Now, once you've done that, you will experience something just as if your hand is put in the fire, you will experience something. But because your hand is put in the fire, has your mind changed in any way? No, right? Because that fire cannot affect your mind. So similarly, the chemical cannot affect your mind. It can affect the body, which is in this case the brain. With me?
Yes, ma'am.
So the chemical affects the brain, and therefore you feel whatever you would feel, but the mind has not been affected because the chemical cannot affect the mind. So then your question will obviously be, but I am feeling happy, and happy is a
Absolutely.
condition of the mind. What
Yes.
has happened? It's something like this. That, to take an illustration, let us say that your brain has many doors. Now the chemical has forced the door of pleasure to open and kept the door of sorrow to be shut. Means you put dopamine or whatever it is you put. So you have done this. So whatever pleasure your mind is capable of having, since the door is open, you will feel that.
Okay.
It's not going to generally increase your level of happiness or unhappiness. You can put a sad thing also, right? You just opened a particular door.
Okay. And as a human being, you will not know whether it is brain happy or mind happy, right? Can you know
There's
that?
no such thing. There's no brain happy and mind happy. It is always the mind happy. But it is which part of the brain is open or closed will allow that to manifest or not manifest. Like when you're in coma, for instance, do you become less intelligent?
No.
Your body is not able to function when you're in coma, or they have medically induced coma, right? So your body is like the doors are shut. So the mind and intellect cannot express themselves because they can only express through it, right? They're not affected. But unless the door is open now, how are they going to express?
Understood, ma'am. Understood. So mind happy example would be when
All happiness is mind only.
okay.
No separate happiness.
Okay.
The door is not open for it to express. It's like you're in coma, right? Suppose you're medically induced coma. You're not going to, suppose you're a mathematics major, you're not going to know mathematics. That doesn't mean you lost your intellectual capacity for math. It's not affected your brain. It's just allowed manifestation or not allowed manifestation.
Okay. I'll think over it. Think over it.
Yes, mommy.
Is the distinction between the two types of happiness that the not induced, the one which is not induced by chemicals, is more lasting?
No, there's no difference. It's the same happiness. I don't know where this thing came off. Happiness is always mind. But if you have closed your brain in some way, you will not be able to manifest that happiness. Or if you've opened a particular part that allows it, then you will manifest that happiness. But it's always the mind.
Then what is, so then how do we, I mean, if the result is the same, then how can we say the gross doesn't affect the subtle?
Because you've not increased the general quota of happiness. Your mind is a certain way. You've not increased the general quota, you've just allowed manifestation. You've allowed expression of that feeling. You have not.
What is that? Sorry, what is that general quota of happiness mean?
I mean, whatever happiness you're capable of, you will experience. You cannot experience a man of realization's happiness because you're not capable of that. You will experience what you're capable of experiencing. Which will seem a lot to you means to any individual, but it will be just what one is capable of experiencing.
Okay.
Anvesh?
It's Hariom Janki ji. You said the gross cannot affect the subtle, but can the subtle affect the gross? I mean, with good I mean, there's another level, I guess, in Vedanta is the Brahman above that, right? I mean, that's how we envision when we have the parting in the mind, or the mind is pure, then the Brahman shines through better, and you're getting a much. I mean, the happiness is percolating through, kind of, right? So by doing some sort of meditation or just having a pure mind, will it percolate to the brain, and then and then you are happy like that. So I mean, does it flow on that side? Because gross cannot affect the subtle, but does subtle affect the gross, and you are happier as a result.
Yeah, yes, subtle affects the gross, but not in the way you're saying. Gross is the body, subtle is the mind. So your mind affects your body, means because of your mind, your body can go fat, your body can go thin, it can be diseased, it can be healthy because of your mind. So the mind affects the body. The intellect is capable of affecting the mind because the intellect is subtler than the mind. So it will affect the mind. The mind, which is going in all directions, the intellect is capable of holding it, directing it, training it, and all that sort of thing. So subtle affect can control and pervade the gross by definition. Now, what does Brahman do in this? Brahman does nothing. Brahman is the inactive principle. Right? When the mind is purified, the Brahman sort of shines through. Shines through means there's no impurity blocking it. But it is not reduced itself in any way or changed itself in any way. It was always there. It's like the sun is always there. You put a roof over your head, you have no access to it. You make that roof a glass roof, some of that light will come through. Right? But nothing is really happening. The sun is not doing anything. So similarly, Brahman is inactive. It doesn't. Based on what you're doing, the light shines through or doesn't shine.
So can it have actual effects on the brain, like physical effects where it becomes healthier, or the chemicals are better, I mean, flowing better, something like that? I mean, just this is more of a kind of an intellectualization kind of question, not that serious.
No, it doesn't have any effect. It's like saying, does the rope have any effect on the snake? No, it doesn't.
Ma'am, but when your mind is peaceful, intellect is sharp, there's a high probability that your body will be fit and healthy. So
Yes.
isn't it an indirect effect which he is asking, Anvesh, that effects percolate in that sense at the physical level?
Yes, he's talking about Brahman. If intellect is sharp, mind will be calm. That we've done already. Intellect will affect mind. Mind is calm, body will be healthy. So mind affects body. That we did in the initially. But does Brahman do anything? No. It's like saying, does the rope have any influence on the snake? No. As far as the rope is concerned, where's the snake?
Right.
Deepak Sethi?
Yeah, Janki, I'm trying to understand this issue of chemicals and happiness, dopamine, serotonin, etc. Would it be true to say that whenever we experience happiness because a desire is met, that actually releases these chemicals? So these are two independent phenomena. The mind is where happiness resides and we feel happy. In the body, it takes the expression of these chemicals and you can measure them and you have markers and that kind of thing. Would it be true to say that?
Yes, of course, because mind influences body, no?
Yeah, okay. Now, therefore, if you induce these chemicals, would it then be true to say that because the chemicals have been induced and there is a presence of, dopamine or whatever it is, the mind will temporarily feel that happiness, because happiness and the presence of these chemicals go hand in hand, and therefore you will feel that happy. But as the effect of these chemicals wears off, then their mind will no longer be that happy. And that's what you meant by saying that it does not increase your overall quota of happiness.
Yes, what it means is what can I say now? let's go back to a roof and thing example. Let's say the mind is the sun. Now there's a roof over your head. Like there's some chemical which is preventing you from feeling the happiness in the mind. Now you've put the chemical in. That means you opened that door. Okay, let's say you had a sunroof in your car, and now you open the sunroof and the sun is coming in. You have not influenced the sun in any way. You have merely opened your sunroof. Right? So the mind has not been influenced by the dopamine. The dopamine has simply opened the sunroof or opened a gate. I don't know in what way to express this, but it's allowing it to manifest. Earlier, why was it not manifesting earlier? Because there was no opening there. Now there is an opening. The mind is what it is, but it cannot manifest. It's like suppose the body is dead. Then the mind, no matter how happy it is feeling, how is this body experience any of that? It can't.
No, then the mind is not enabled because there is no enabling, power. But
No, wait.
but-
What do you mean no enabling power? What are you talking about?
no, I'm
Brahman
talking
is
about,
still there, right?
yeah,
Even
yeah.
the dead body. So enabling power is there. Mind is not connected. So when the mind is connected, and it's allowing manifestation. Same thing, I don't know, everybody is very confused about this dopamine thing. It comes up a lot, but nobody talks about coma, which is exactly the same thing. You can have medically induced coma in which your mind and intellect are completely shut off, right? But they've not been influenced or affected. They've not changed in any way. The body is just incapable of allowing their manifestation. I mean, everything is like that, not just happening.
That sunroof example seemed to be quite clear in the physical metaphor, but not able to relate it to the, the mind happiness metaphor.
Okay, so let us say your mind is capable of 50 units of pleasure, right? But for whatever reason, the brain is not letting this come through. Okay, for whatever reason. So now you open a door and you allow this mind, which is capable of 50 units of happiness, to feel the full 50 units. But no matter how much dopamine you put into that person, he will never feel more than 50 because he's not capable of it.
Hariom, ma'am.
One second, Ganesh. In other words, you can't make him enjoy the bliss of realization, right?
Or even a higher bliss than what he is
yes.
at that current level. I mean, say if he's at emotional level, he can't enjoy the intellectual level happiness, etc., etc.
Exactly.
But that chemical does open out, the available potential that he has.
Yes, that it can, because that is the brain. The brain is necessary to manifest the mind, right? If the brain is not functioning, how will the mind manifest? It cannot express. The mind cannot express without the brain, without the physical body, basically. If this was not true, why would you have a physical body? Why were you not getting all your experiences directly with your mind and intellect? You have to have a body.
So by working on the mind, with the proper, purification or meditation, then that means we can increase our potential for happiness.
Absolutely. But understand what that means. Basically, working on the mind means that you have reduced the impurities because of which the light of the self can come through. So meditation won't do it. Initially, it will be karma bhakti jnana that does. I mean, initially means for the largest portion of the sadhana will be karma bhakti jnana. I'm seeing Anvesh frozen. Are you all still here or gone off? Still here, right?
Still here.
You heard. So purification of the mind will bring that effect. But why will it bring that effect? It's like There is a glass which has got so much dirt. So you can't look outside also. Now you clean the dirt so you can look. Means the light comes through. But now if you fake it and you put a picture there of a mountain, then you're seeing the picture of the mountain. You're not actually. This is what most people do in spiritual sadhana. They fake it. They put a picture of the mountain. They say, okay, this is purification. No, it's not. You're not really seeing the mountain. Okay. 1 second. I have to go to Prashant because he has been very patient and waiting. I'll come to you, Taruna. Prashant Naya. But mind is clouding intellect during addiction. Yes, Prashant. We say that, but that is not technically correct because the mind is incapable of clouding the intellect. It is the same thing that the mind has created a barrier because of which the intellect is unable to manifest. Just as the body can create a barrier because of which the mind is unable to manifest, the subtle equipment requires the gross equipment to manifest, right? Without the body, how is the mind going to manifest? If there is no mind, what is the intellect going to channelize? It's like saying we are building a dam, but there's no water there. So, what is the dam going to do? If there's no mind, what is the intellect going to do? So, it will require the presence of the mind. No? So, the mind is not technically, it is not correct that the mind is clouding the intellect. The mind is just not allowing manifestation. The intellect, whatever it is, will stay that because you're not allowing it to manifest. So intellect never clouds the mind never clouds the intellect. So how can you prove this? Can you tell me a way by which you can prove it? Because in Vedanta, we can't just make statements. We must know why those statements are. It's very irritating. Now, everywhere else, it's so cool now for the teachers. They can just say whatever they want and then everybody says, yes, wonderful, wonderful, and goes on. Here we have to prove everything. So, how can we say for certain that the desires or the impurities of the mind cannot cloud the intellect? How do you say that? Because remember, it is never the strength of the desire that determines control. You remember this? It is not the strength of the desire that determines control. What determines control is?
Strength of the intellect.
Strength of the intellect. Just like it is not the speed of the car that determines whether you're in control or not. It is the
Driver.
The skill of the driver. Right? So all these people can, what are their names, Schumacher and all, they can drive at God knows what speeds, but they're in control. Teenagers can drive a car at not even half that speed and create damage all over the place. Right? So it is not the mind that clouds the intellect. It is the weakness of the intellect that is not able to hold the mind. Clear?
Yes, madam.
Then Deep Raj. Can we say it's like if we have a powerful program which cannot run with current RAM? Great example, Deep Raj. But when one upgrades the RAM, the program runs smoothly. But if we increase the RAM any further, the program doesn't run any smooth. Great example. Thank you. Very good example. You get his example, no? That's exactly the point. He's got the point. By increasing your RAM, you're not affecting the program. But your program can't run on the lower RAM. Now, what can anyone do about that? But the program, you can increase your RAM all you want. The program is if of a certain type, it's not going to get any better because you increased your RAM. Great example. I hope it's clearer now. Okay, Taruna, what did you have?
Ma'am, we are talking about the chemicals which are induced, and you say it cannot increase the level of your happiness your mind is capable of. So similarly, just like inducing chemicals, whoever likes chocolate, they eat chocolate, they get happiness, or buying their favorite things and all these things bring happiness. That's also the same thing that they cannot increase your quota, and in the end, there's a possibility of creating an agitation with
They
these
can't
things.
increase your quota. Yes, that's correct. Always the same. No physical thing can increase that quota. The only way you can increase your quota of happiness is purification of the mind. That will improve the capacity of the mind for pleasure. Obviously, no,
That,
because pleasure
hmm,
comes from the self. Self is covered with dirt. So how can any
right.
more pleasure come?
So how are we fooled with these things? Means why don't we see that?
I wish I knew the answer to that.
And means how convincing these things are, and we feel it that way, and still we are not seeing it.
No, because uh, it's always that we will take our own perception, unless educated, our perception is king. So if you go to any villager and say, does the sun rise? He'll say, of course, usme पूछने की क्या बात है? What's there to ask? The sun rises, can't you see? Right? So your perception always takes precedence until there is education, which is the most natural thing, right? So once you're educated, then you say, okay, I'm seeing it right, but actually that's not happening. Like my husband says something rude to me and I get very angry. I'm feeling the anger, but I can tell myself it is his words that appear to be giving me this anger, but this anger is not coming from there. But for that, I need education. My husband is incapable of creating anger. There's only one thing that can create anger in me, and that is
My own desire.
Interruption of
Desire.
Interruption of desires.
interruption of the.
So my perception means the way my mind feels.
No, what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing.
Suppose I I eat a chocolate, I feel happy, my mind feels happy. Of course, that is my current level. So with the body and mind, whatever I'm perceiving, with the combination of two, whatever I perceive, I take it as um, true or correct.
Naturally, it's the most natural thing to do.
So
I ate
perception
chocolate.
includes mind and body both.
Yeah, of course. I ate chocolate. If my mind was distracted, I won't enjoy the chocolate. I'll say, oh, did I finish it already? I need another one now. Right?
Right.
So I eat the
Right.
chocolate. I feel happy. I say chocolate is the cause of my happiness. But I need education to really know what is the cause and effect relationship.
Right.
Samta. How do you know in your spiritual growth whether you're seeing the picture of the mountain or is your glass really clear and seeing a real mountain? Samta, I wish I knew the answer to that. I can only tell you what the Gita says about it. Yap pashyati sa pashyati. He who sees it sees. If somebody is saying 2 plus 2 is 4, somebody is saying 2 plus 2 is 8, somebody is saying 2 plus 2 is 22. Each one is convinced. Each one is telling you what he thinks is right. Now, who is really right? Yap pashyati sa pashyati. He who sees it sees it. There's no debating this. So, how will you know? Basically, you do not even think about it. You just think of one thing in your life. All your focus, all your attention has to be on one thing. Am I performing the right action? That's all I'm concerned with. That's all that is my duty. That's all that is my responsibility. Moment after moment, am I just doing what is right? That's it. Everything else is futile.
So again, if we don't know and if we cannot measure, then how would we do a course correction like that? We talked about the magnetic compass, how it gets demagnetized and then you. So that's the path that see on your growth from time to time. Do we know again we just hitting blindly, or is there no way to know? Or
As your, there's a beautiful thing about the spiritual path that what you do, if it's appropriate for your level, it's the right thing. There is no value judgment on this. Like, remember that example, a 3-year-old draws a house. You accept it as a house. Nature accepts your truth as the truth. And as you grow, you draw a different house. Nature will accept that also. Your job is to draw the best house you can. There is no black and white. Yeah.
as you keep doing your effort, the window will automatically start defogging.
But your attention can't be there because he's been very clear about this. Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. The growth is an effect. I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to think about my effort. The growth is not my problem.
So just keep the mumukshutvam, but that desire that you have to keep in there and just keep doing the action. That's mainly the two.
Assumption is the desire is there. Now you have to make sure that moment to moment you're performing the right action. By right, we're not talking moralistically right. Just what is appropriate for this instant. Have I done that action? That's it. That's my only responsibility.
So Janki-ji, it could be said.
1 second. 1 second. I have a whole bunch of stuff happening here. Sorry, Momita, yeah.
Sorry, I forgot. Samta was saying something and
okay, no problem. We'll go to Deepak Sethi. Anyway, we are beyond time. So
yeah. No, I was just saying, you had said, do what is right. And perhaps a more appropriate way of saying it would be, do what you think is right based on your intellect's current potential. You have a potential, work hard to use that potential to know what is right and then do it. Because to find what is absolute right, real mountain and a visual mountain, etc., is not possible. Would that be correct?
So in simple, in simple language, do what is right. When you say right, obviously you must have figured out it is right in some way. Otherwise, how did you know it was right? So yes, simply, what you're saying is the elaborate way of putting it, and that's also correct.
Yeah, no, because when you say do what is right, then the question comes, how do I know what is right? But we are on the same page. Do what is right means do what you have figured out to be right.
Of course.
But Janki-ji, in that case, isn't it scary that, even the guy who's being terrorist doing it in his mind, he has thought that is right, but that is not right. So,
wrong.
Isn't it that, no? Blowing up the plane is not right, but he figured in his mind that is his right and I'm going to God, but I just don't understand.
Do not make this mistake of having a right and a wrong in this world. Everybody has a right and a wrong. For that terrorist, that may have been right. A tiger kills. It's right for the tiger to kill. But if it's a man-eater, it is right for you to go and kill that man-eater. But you cannot say it's wrong for him. You can decide what's right for you. You cannot say it's wrong for him because you don't know. If he is a tiger in a human form, what else will he do? This is his life, killing. It's not for me to say what is right or wrong. It's for me to say what is right for me to do. A terrorist's dharma is to be a terrorist. A thief's dharma is to be a thief. at each level of growth, there are different things we have to do. We just assume mine is right. But for somebody higher than me, everything I'm doing is wrong. They're saying I'm mad people. What are they doing? Just like you looking down, you feel they are wrong. So somebody above us looking at us says we are wrong. That way everybody is wrong. Who's right? Okay, so I think we are well beyond time now. So Taruna, yes, we can take it up next time. Okay, go ahead. You're looking so sad.
I'm just a big thing that wrong perception we are talking about, or perception. So does that mean these 10 moving sections of happiness machinery, they are all wrong perceptions?
Yes. Their wrong perception is this is the correct perception which went wrong because you didn't figure out the original fiction. The original
Right.
fiction was when I get it, I'll be happy. But now we're analyzing what does that even mean? So that this 10 things will not give you this happiness you're claiming.
If we don't see these things the way it is, then it is a wrong perception.
Yes. If you
Like the fear of the fear of loss, because in that case there is no external interaction with the object, but still you're messed up or feeling this. So in that sense, I was arguing the perception was wrong.
all of them are wrong. Yes.
All of them are wrong in some order. Right. Thank you.
Now, Mari Amelie has been waiting very patiently to give us her announcement.